glad you came by. Come back Monday if you can. If you can't, don't forget to watch comedian Jimmy Alex, Frank Zappa, and Kool Moe Dee Monday night. Also, I'm on weekends now, right, Marlon? Okay, so I'm trying to make all the money. I'm just kidding. I do it out of the goodness of my heart. So look and check your local listings and see when I'm on weekends and check that out, too, in case you don't go out. You never know. You never know. You might be at home waiting for your van. My first guest is one of the most honored filmmakers of our time. His movies include The Godfather, Apocalypse Now, and Peggy Sue Got Married. From June 20th to June 25th, he's bringing back the silent film epic Napoleon at Radio City Music Hall in New York City. Please welcome Francis, without the Ford, Copolla. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that tune they were playing was composed by your dad.
That's the love theme from Napoleon, the Josephine theme.
All right. On the album soundtrack, it says Francis Coppola presents. What does it mean when you present?
Well, in the case, I guess what it means when you present is you're bringing something to the public, to their attention. In this case, I saw the movie Napoleon years ago, and I thought it was extraordinary. And I remembered my father telling me when I was a kid that in the old days when they showed movies, you'd go to the theater and there'd be a gigantic orchestra, and the orchestra would play live all the music for the movie. And I thought that would be just a great thing to see. So when I saw Napoleon, I thought, why don't we get this movie that few people have ever seen and get a whole score written for it and get a symphony orchestra and at the Radio City Music Hall, which is one of the most beautiful theaters in the world, with my dad, who used to work there when I was a kid, present Napoleon. And I really did it mainly so I could see it once like that, because you got to get an orchestra, you got to get lots of projectors, because it's a special process, you know. So we did it those few nights, and it was, people really were astounded by what they saw. And so my dad has spent the last years going all over the world to foreign countries. He was just in Madrid, and he's going to Moscow, doing this show, Napoleon. Of course, now it's the anniversary of the French Revolution, so we thought it'd be great to bring it back to the Radio City Music Hall and see it once again.
Will you travel it around the country so people in other parts of the United States will be able to see it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal to try to get a whole orchestra and all these special projectors, and, you know, people ought to see it once in their lifetime, because it really is an unusual thing to see, and an awful lot of fun. People really enjoy it. It's something, it's like a live show more. It's not quite like a movie.
So the director that directed the original Napoleon must have been very heavy, because you talk like it was way ahead of its time.
Well, his name was Abel Gance, and he just died very recently, and he was a kind of maverick in his day in the 20s, and he was always anxious to try out everything for a film, you know, put the camera on swinging pendulums, and his invention was called polyvision. Polyvision was where at certain parts, when the emotion of the movie is so great, suddenly 3 screens come on, and you see the movie. It sort of was the forerunner of Cinerama. And there was just so much in it that I was just so excited by seeing it, that the idea of seeing it with an orchestra playing, you know, the whole thing, and it was something I really did for myself, and it turned out to be other people enjoyed it as well.
It's interesting that you'd be involved with the subject matter, Napoleon, because...
Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, just based on your career and your life, I mean, do you parallel yourself in a sense to Napoleon?
No, I mean, Napoleon, you know, turned the world on top of itself, you know, and there's a lot to learn from Napoleon, though. One thing I always learned is Napoleon used to say, use the weapons at hand. And whenever I'm in a tough spot, you know, I look around to see what it is that I can get myself out of the predicament. And lots of times I've found it just lying. In Napoleon's case, it was artillery. Artillery was a new thing, and he became a master of artillery, and that's how he conquered much of the world in his time. But, you know, his whole story took place in 12 years, from the rise to the fall. So, but I'm nothing like Napoleon.
You're kind of the Napoleon of the film world, in a sense.
Well, I've had some. Napoleon made a fatal mistake, though. There's always interesting how every man has that moment where he's going to be judged. Sort of halfway through his adventure, he decided to have murdered one of the heirs to the throne. And he did it in a kind of sleazy way. He just ordered someone to go out of France to where this fellow was hiding, and this heir to the throne said, look, I'm not trying to come back. And I've always felt that at that moment, that's when Napoleon lost it, is when he made that little personal decision to rub out this guy. And they say that Beethoven, who had written the Eroica Symphony in honor of Napoleon, when he saw that Napoleon made himself an emperor, he crossed it out. So, Napoleon was a great life, but there's a lot to learn from even his story, like, on that level.
Yeah. We'll take a commercial and come back with more.
Can't get next to you.
Can we look at the clip you brought?
We brought one clip was when Napoleon was a little boy. He came from Corsica, and they sent him to a military school, and he started to conspire, and he became the leader of the snowball fights, and he learned, or he tried out his military strategy on the other boys, and that's what this scene deals with. The genius of Napoleon as a young boy.
Okay, as Ava Gabor said, roll it, Sandy, darling.
Right, you get 2 for 1.
Right, so I think that's a great idea, a great concept. You have taken on a lot of challenges in your life. What makes you seem to go after the impossible?
I don't know, maybe if you have a real goal or if you have a dream that you would like to do one day, it's easier to do any step that seems to be taking you there. Maybe if a person didn't have any dream about they wanted to do, that they kind of sit around and be secure. But to me, when I get in those situations that you maybe have to take a chance, it always seems worth it for what the prize is.
But you could easily, you did Godfather, and it was wonderful, and you could have easily just slid into a couple Porky's movies and chill, But you seem to take you by studios, I guess.
Well, I always had the most fun in my life working with other people on shows and, big group, doing the production, getting the excitement of it. And I did it when I was young. I did it when I was in college. And so I just naturally tried to do it in the real world with a studio. A movie studio has got to be the most wonderful thing that someone could work with. A lot of interesting people, beautiful girls, music. And the idea of a movie studio, a little bit the way they were in the old days, where they just made one project after another and got good at it. I think nowadays you can spend 2 years just trying to put the deal together.
Yeah.
So you don't have the practice and the work the way it was. But so, we've been trying for 25 years to put together basically our own studio, and a lot of young people have come and became very famous and gone, and we're still doing the same thing, really.
Yeah, we talked in the monologue about everybody's favorite Michael Jackson. What was doing Captain EO with him like?
Well, he was just like a kid, He just wanted to get into it. And when I said, you're going to play Captain EO, he said, well, how do I salute? And, I went to 6 months of military school, so I thought, you salute like this. And every day he would come in and salute me. And I realized he wants to play. He's like a kid. And so we just played with the little animals with the wings and stuff. He was very... wouldn't you like to have a giraffe, though, really? A giraffe is such a beautiful thing. You feed it leaves and... No?
I'm not a big animal person, Like, I don't even have a dog yet. So I probably should wait on the giraffe. I should start with a chihuahua and work my way up.
You know, it's funny is because when I had a little boy who loved giraffes, and one time after I made The Godfather, I said, I got some money, why shouldn't I get a giraffe?
Mm-hmm.
So I tried, where do you buy a giraffe? And I asked questions, there was nowhere. Finally, I found it. You could buy it in those days, it was almost 20 years ago, it was $5,000. But they said, you know, this is not really a good climate for a giraffe. And if you get a giraffe, it's very likely it's going to get sick and it's not going to be able to be healthy. And so we decided not to get the giraffe. But I was laughing when you were talking about
where
it.
do you go when you want a giraffe?
Yeah.
Will there be a Godfather sequel? 3, I guess it would be.
Well, a year doesn't go by that you don't hear there's going to be a Godfather. I remember hearing that Sylvester Stallone was going to be in a Godfather sequel, and John Travolta once I heard. I even heard Eddie Murphy was going to be in a Godfather. He was interested in a famous character named Nicky Barnes, and he wanted, but you know, I think there isn't one immediately going to be done, because to do a Godfather film, it's sort of more than doing a sequel. You'd have to wrap up the whole drama in like a 3rd act. You have to get all those people back together, Al Pacino and the photographer and stuff, and you know, maybe one day we would be able to do it, but I think it'd be a big job to try to bring that all back.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming by and talking to me.
My pleasure.
Francis Copolla.
Thank you.
We'll be back. Don't